Hello everyone, we were working today with measuring and naming angles. I know a couple people did not quite get finished, so I wanted to put this up so that you could make sure you got all that. So first of all, an angle, as I'm sure you're familiar with, it's going to talk about that there are two rays that share the same endpoint. And I want to do a little drawing over here that I want you to add to yours as well. You're also going to notice I have a whole bunch of different colors out that I'm using. You might want to have some colors as well. So I'm going to use my protractor as my straight edge here, and I'm just going to draw. So this is a ray, and the thing that makes it different from a line is that it has an arrow at one end like you're used to seeing. There's an endpoint on it. And if I take and I add another line to that coming from that same endpoint, that is an angle, which I'm sure that you already knew. So this is called a ray, and this is called a ray. And when they come together at the same endpoint, we call that endpoint the vertex. So that is the vertex of the angle. Now, the sides of the rays can be called sides, or they can also be called legs. So those sides can be called legs or sides, depending on what text you're using or whatever, what video you're watching. So you might hear this called different things. Now, when we name it, we are going to say the name of one side, then the name of the vertex, then the name of the other side that makes up the angle. So for instance, if this was ray L, and this was ray M, and our vertex was X, just because I didn't want to pick one that sounded like M or N, I would call this angle L, X, M. Or I could go in the opposite direction and call it angle M, X, L. To make sure, I just have to make sure that that vertex is the middle. It cannot be on one of the ends because I have to name them in order. So I would go from one to the vertex to the other. I can't get to the other side without going to the vertex. So if we kind of, see if I can zoom in here correctly and take a look at this example right here. So we already have this labeled as angle 1. We're going to give it another name. So it is made up of side L and side C, and in the middle between them, our vertex is B there. So we would call this angle L, B, C, or I could reverse that and call it angle C, B, L. For number 2 here, I'm going to switch some colors out. Angle number 2, it's made up of C and D, and once again, it's using that same vertex of B. So I could call this angle C, B, D, or I could call it angle D, B, C. Our next one there, angle 3, it's made up of D and A. So I could call this angle D, B, A, or angle A, B, D, and then our last one, let's have you pause it and see if you can name it. All right, so check what you got for the name of that angle versus what I have for the name of that angle. And the next thing we're going to do is we're going to talk about different types of angles. So we have acute angles, which are less than 90 degrees. And you might remember that a right angle is exactly equal to 90 degrees. It looks like the letter L. So this will look like a kind of bent over letter L, like it's doubled over in pain. Our obtuse angle is going to be greater than 90 degrees. And it's like it's leaning back. The letter L is leaning back. Our straight angle is a straight line, and it's 180 degrees. I'm just going to show you real quickly how to draw some with a protractor here. Moving around on my colors. So I'm going to make a straight line here at the bottom. And I'm going to put my endpoint on this side and put my arrow over there. Now when I bring my protractor down, I'm going to put the endpoint right in the hole. And it's hard to see, but there's a black line on the protractor, and my purple line that I drew is lined up right underneath that. They're right on top of each other. So when I go out to this side, I'm going to start at 0 here. Then I've got 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. So I'm counting that way. So since it's nice and easy to see, I'm going to put a mark at 50. Now that mark at 50, when you move this way, you see it's really far away. I don't need to draw my line that long. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to use that point to line these up and draw my other ray here, and that is a 50-degree angle, which is indeed less than 90. My obtuse one, I'm going to start the same way by drawing my line, but I want to show you going the other way on the protractor. So I'm going to put my end point here and my arrow here for that one. When I slide my protractor down over that this time, my purple line is going to line up with, see if I can shade the light a little bit there. It's going to line up with this side over here. So I would come out this way and start all the way out here at this 0 and go over. Now if I want to draw something bigger than 90, 90 is up there, so I've got to go past that. So say I picked 120. I'd put a little mark over there. I'm going to line them up, and once again, I don't have to draw it all the way up to that dot. It doesn't matter how long that line is. This angle measure is still 120 degrees. It's still how far apart those two rays are. I want you to pause right now, and I want you to practice drawing and try to draw the 90 and the 180. All right, so I've drawn a 90-degree angle there, and you'll notice that these other ones have like little curvy lines showing that they're angles, but the 90-degree angle actually has a little square there. And that's a really easy way to figure out if they've marked something as a 90-degree angle, is just to look for that little square, and that's the giveaway that it's a 90-degree angle. Down at the bottom here, we have a protractor on the paper ready to go. And so we're just reading it. So this is like we drew that bottom line. It goes right down here at 0. Our protractors have that little piece that comes down here. And so that would be where the little hole is there. When it goes through, it's going through right between the 20 and the 30, and you can see the 25 line is right there. So it's right around 25. I'm going to say it's 24 degrees. I had somebody ask me, is that Celsius or Fahrenheit? This isn't temperature, this is a measure, so it's not going to be degrees Celsius or Fahrenheit, it's just going to be degrees. So once again, I have now lined up my vertex right in that hole, and you can always put a little dot on it if that helps you. This line is going through here. When I look through and extend up here, right about the 105. And so 105, 104, somewhere around in there. We'll just call it 105 degrees. I'm going to have you pause it and try to measure those last two. All right, so I got 85 or thereabouts. If you got 83, 84, something along those lines. I got 155 for that last one. Last thing down here at the bottom of our paper is we're going to actually draw them. Now, it doesn't matter if you go left or right. Just make sure that you have the numbers going the right way on your protractor. They shouldn't be backwards when you're looking at the protractor. Had someone have some difficulty with that today when they realized what was going on. We had a good laugh about it. They learned from it. That's all that we're looking for here. I'm going to go ahead and draw my lines down here. Now this first one, what you're going to find is to get that 140 on there, going that direction is going to be a little difficult. So I'm going to put my end point here for this one so that I can open it up onto my paper. So my line is going this way, so I'm going to start around and come around here and go all the way over to the 140. That's where I'm going to make my mark. Now once again, I don't have to draw my line that long. I just want to line up those points. And that is a 140 degree angle there. My 35 degree, I'm going to go ahead and put my endpoint here, just going back and forth so I can practice going both ways. Line it up, come out here, this is my 0, so 10, 20, 30. 35 is right there. Put my little dot, line those up. There is my 35 degree angle. My last one, I could go either way. Being as I'm a righty, I'm going to put my endpoint there. Really doesn't make a difference. Going to go over and so then up to my 80. So I drew these and thought I'd pushed record, but I'm going to go ahead and do them again there. I drew my line for the 140, and I decided to put my endpoint here so that I would have space on my paper. So I matched those up, and I came out to this side, started here at the 10, and went all the way around 90, 10, 100, 110, 120, 130, 140. Put my little dot right there. I lined up my two dots. I drew my line starting at my end point, and there was my 140 degree angle. My next one, I did my 35. I came over here to 0. I went around to 10, 20, 30, 35, put my little dot, lined them up, started from my end point, and got my 35 degree angle. My last one is my 80. Same thing, I came out this way, went around, put my dot at my 80, lined them up, and connected them. So now the next paper that you should have to work on, if you don't, it's connected to the weekly agenda as well. But it looks like this, and you're going to actually practice drawing those. And the answer key is also attached in the weekly agenda, so you should be able to do those. Check them out, see what they look like, and see if you match up. Have some practice with your protractor.